All right, we're going live.
Perfect. Let's get it.
What's happening, everyone? Carmen Didisco here, UIA TV. We got a live one for you today. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of cool things happening. I want to bring on the co-host, Ms. Christopher Guerrera and Matt Nuccio. What's going on, guys?
What's going on?
Hey, Carmine, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Doing good, man. This is some crazy stuff here. These live shows, you never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, well, don't we know that?
Well, I think we're getting live music today too, right?
Yeah, we're hoping we get some live music. Joe's been working on it for 2 hours. We better get some live music.
I think we can arrange it. I think we can make it happen.
Hey, Chris, you back from New Hampshire? You still up there, man?
No, I came back. We got really the orders under control after the Shark Tank airing, and so we can deliver for about 110 an hour now. And we're still getting them. They're still coming in, 100 a day right now. So they're still pumping in. And I'm back in South Carolina. I'll head back up there in a couple of weeks.
Cool. Matt and I were watching the social media stuff. It looks like you had just big sacks of packages you were delivering yourself.
Yeah, well, here's how it went down. The post office, when we first made a delivery, that was probably like 500 orders. And they were like, what is happening? No, you need to do it this way. So we thought we would at least tell them what we were up to. They told us the best way to pack them. We could have them come pick it up, but there was so much going on. And by the time they would pick them up, it would be after 5. So we wanted to get them out the same day they were ordered. So we were literally driving them to the post office every day. We made a lot of new friends, made a couple enemies. You know how it goes.
Yes, no doubt about it. And speaking of enemies, Matt, what's going on, man? How you doing up there?
Making enemies. That's all. Insulting people. I've been sending my family disparaging messages all day. Just telling you, just trying to make as many enemies as possible. There's a lot of
he wore the appropriate shirt for today. Yeah. We were thinking maybe Matt's going to perform a live kiss duo with Joe.
So that's what we've been working on.
Hey, Matt, do you have like a band? I know you guys are into a band. Do you have a band at work?
We have a recording studio at this office here, actually. But yeah, I do have a band called the Mighty Barley Brothers. We play a lot of gigs before COVID throughout Manhattan, Brooklyn, Long Island area. Probably about two to three gigs a month for the past like 5-6 years. All original stuff, and we play. We've played a lot of famous joints in New York City, so very happy with that. But I grew up being in bands. I went to art school in the 90s. Like it's made a lot of feedback, and let your hair fall in front of your face, and the girls dug it.
Come on, I learned something new every week. He's not just a toy god. He's also in a band.
Oh yeah, well I'm also a big guitar collector, and I've got like 30-something guitars. Yeah.
Wow.
All right,
that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, we got to get you together with Jeff Mangus. We were talking about that. He's awesome. Yeah. He loves this stuff too. All right, Chris. Well, let's introduce our guest, man.
Well, this goes hand in hand with our guest, right? We have Joe Corcoran in today, and Joe's got a pretty cool product. It's called Wristruments, and I'll let Joe talk about it. But before we get into that and do any live demonstrations, let's bring Joe on and let's hear about Joe's background, how he got started, about his great college career, all that fun stuff.
And how he got here.
Yeah, how he got here.
And the name of that romantic filter that he uses for his
called the
he's in a bubble. I told you, he's in a studio bubble.
That's it. I'm always in a bubble.
Well, welcome, Joe. Tell us about yourself. Who is
All
Joe?
Right, thank you guys for having me. Obviously, I'm an inventor, hence the show. Serial entrepreneur kinda, and I've just been working on different products pretty much ever since I was a kid. It's just kind of always been part of me. And the one that I've been working on now, it's called Wristruments, like Chris said, and it's a smartwatch app that teaches you guitar, but it's really kind of just like the tip of the iceberg of like a whole larger plan to really revamp how people use technology in their daily lives and how people use technology to learn and actually improve their own skill sets pretty much constantly throughout their life. And I think the biggest thing that motivated me to, want to get into education and, how people learn was my own college experience and my own, high school, all my schooling experience, traditional schooling experience, I wouldn't, say that it was, I'm not going to like put it down, but I think that it definitely could be improved. And there's definitely a lot of like wiggle room for kids who are just kind of forced into different subjects that don't really correlate with their actual lives. And it kind of turns them away from learning. And yeah, I think that, we can just do better. So that kind of started my whole thought process towards, all right, let's think of something for learning. Let's think of something for education. And when I thought of Wristruments, I was reading a book called Peak, and it's basically about purposeful practice and how humans, like over the past like 60 years or so, have just like increased what they're able to do thanks to these like scientific training regimens and basically just practicing the right thing whenever they're going to engage in any activity. So anyways, I was sitting there. I kind of played guitar on and off growing up. But once I'd learned a few songs that I could play and that were actually like, rewarding to hear myself play, I kind of stopped trying to learn and just played like the same things over and over and over on repeat for years, So I just left college and I had some extra time. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try to use this purposeful practice stuff that I was reading about in the book, apply it to guitar, and pick back up and see if I could actually learn. So I'm using my laptop, and I'm trying to do chord progressions, and I have to keep looking at my laptop, pausing it, going back to my guitar, trying to figure it out. And, it just felt like school, and it just kind of sucked. So I was wearing a smartwatch at the time, and I realized, I could put these chords that were being shown to me on my laptop right on my wrist, and I could actually play while I was learning, and it would, make the experience enjoyable for me. So I just ran downstairs. I was living in Dover at the time, made a prototype, put it on, and it just worked exactly how I'd imagined. And it kind of set me off on this like whole journey from there where I was like, all right, how do I actually bring this thing to life now? And how do I actually get other people on board? And it's been a pretty crazy ride since then.
So think about it this way, Joe. So I've known you for a long time. I've known you since your high school days, football and all that stuff. So I've watched your progression all the way through it. So when you finally thought you had this concept that that would become a reality, how did you go about, programming it, right? It's not like you're building a tool or injection molding a part. Now you're talking about software and you're talking about somebody actually doing programming to an app. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So when I first made the prototype, I literally just used like Photoshop to kind of make a GIF and just put it on my watch. So I wasn't actually programming anything. And then I'd also realized, there's nobody else who had actually utilized a smartwatch in this way because it required you to rotate the screen to actually get, your real guitar kind of augmented and lined up to have this effect. So I was like, all right, if I just like patent this, file a patent, then I'll be all set. So I spent the next like 4 days just like teaching myself how to write a patent. And I thought that would carry me through. I was like, hey, everyone, like I have a patent on rotating the screen of a smartwatch. Like, this is crazy. And people were like, it wasn't as easy as I expected. And I spent a couple of years just going like from pitch to investor meeting with all of my business plans that I had made and like all of these things. And it just was really hard to get across, what I had. And so about a year ago, I met Connor, who's like my co-founder with Wristruments, and he was doing video production. He was he was a producer. So his whole skill set was just in pretty much taking these loose strings and tying them together and making a final product. And what that kind of taught me, like once we started working together, he was just like, you just need the app. Like you just need to show people because it doesn't work just telling them. And he's like, we can make it. Like, you're smart, I'm smart. So we just sat down, downloaded Xcode, which is like Apple's development platform, and started teaching ourselves. And and took a while. but it's kind of just like everything's on Google. There's great tutorials, put a little bit of effort in each day, and eventually we had, a fully functional app.
All right, so now you got a fully functional app. You've got a patent where it spins. Talk about, and you said the word easy, because I think just about everybody in the world sometimes thinks it's easy to launch a new product, whether it be a software product or not. So let's talk about the expectations, right? You also thought that, and I think it's something the new generation has that tendency to think some of this stuff is a lot easier than it is until you jump in the pool and say, wait a minute, I really don't know how to swim. So talk a little bit about that, because you got to talk about, look at the cost of marketing, cost of raising capital, the funding required, your business plans, all that. I mean, I sat in some of your meetings, so I clearly understand what you went through. Talk about that with the group, because you got a lot of people out here listening that may also think it might have been a little bit easier to jump into the pool and then realize, wait a second, I need to take it back. I need to take a step back and really look at it.
Absolutely. I think kind of what myself and a lot of other people might have the mindset of going into something. It's like, all right, you have this great idea. You have a little bit of something as far as a patent and like a really basic demo, but people's time is valuable, and you really can't tell people anything, especially when, they're listening to 50 pitches a day. You have to capture their attention, and it's kind of just like, I was kind of doing the steps backwards, I guess. And yeah, it's the most important thing I learned is just really just like show instead of tell, and make your product, at least to an extent, before you go out and try to pretty much find other people who are going to help you. And that was really the biggest thing. And that's kind of just what I've been trying to focus on. We've been just our noses to the grind, just developing. And yeah, it's definitely the most important thing is just make the thing. And once you make the thing, everything else kind of falls into place, and you don't have to waste a bunch of effort on steps that are kind of future steps.
How about funding?
You want to get ahead of yourself is what you're saying.
Yeah, right.
It's easy.
I also know that like you need some capital, right? So how did you go about when it was time? I mean, you have to tell people about it, right? Like it's like you said, you got to show them. So you got to market it somewhere, right? You got to have it on platforms where people see it. How did you raise capital to get some of the funding for that?
So we did crowdfunding. We used Kickstarter, and then we're currently on Indiegogo right now, Indiegogo in demand. So we're selling pre-orders of a lifetime subscription. And it's kind of funny because, I had, right when I thought of this, it was like 4 years ago, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to just use Kickstarter and put the idea up on Kickstarter, make some graphics, and people will love it and they'll fund it. So I actually did 2 failed Kickstarters with Wristruments before we were finally successful this past summer. So it was like, also it was kind of a learning experience where it was like, I didn't have the app done yet. So I was kind of just speculating on all these things of what it would be. I was like, all right, I'm going to outsource like smartwatches from China and just put the program on there. And then because people want a physical product is what I assumed, and I think making these assumptions and then going in and putting the work, it's kind of backwards, and once the product was actually done and we were able to actually show people and feel and see how they actually like were instantly better at playing, I think that energy really kind of lifted this up and allowed us to be a lot more transparent on like our marketing approach, because it was like, it just was more genuine. It was more transparent. It was like I wasn't trying to sell people something that wasn't even a thing yet. I was trying to actually just now explain the benefits and how powerful this software really is. And yeah, I mean, it was tough. Like we pretty much we've raised about $20,000 so far through Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And we've put in definitely more than that, like pretty much all of our personal finances and time into this. So it's like a lot of people don't realize you can raise money from people, but then there's expenses from it. There's Facebook ad costs, there's development costs, there's all these different things. And it's like, yeah, we just got to keep going,
So how about focus groups? I would imagine that would have been a big a big decision to start going into groups of people, users, and having real focus groups and getting feedback from that. I would imagine you spend
Absolutely.
quite a bit of time on that.
Yeah, so that was kind of also really integrated into our crowdfunding strategy, because we had this beta version available that we could allow users to try before we put it on the App Store. So in addition to giving everybody who supported it a lifetime subscription when the full version came out, we also gave them early access to the app and had them join basically a focus group so that they could kind of give their feedback and see the process develop and feel really a part of bringing this to full fruition. So it's been really helpful that like our focus group basically is our first customer base, our biggest focus group. And it's people who want to see this come to life, who do believe in it. So it's definitely been really helpful in terms of like what features to develop next and what people actually want versus what I think that they want.
Can we talk a bit to what the features are? I'm curious first. I mean, there's infinite amounts of songs. So who's inputting these? Is this a shareware situation? Is this input by fans? Is this something that you guys preload? Do they purchase a song? Is it all available? Tell us about the platform and how it functions.
Yeah, sure. So for the songs right now, that's actually the code that we're working on. And what we've done is it's like an LRC file. It's like a lyric file that's kind of attached to pretty much any song that's on Spotify or iTunes. And what it does is it shows the lyrics kind of in time with the song, which is really the most important thing. So we kind of just modified that a little bit so we could fit them on the small smartwatch screen in time with the song. And so right now it takes like 5 to 7 minutes per song, but the utility that we're creating is just going to allow it to read the LRC file, play it, and then also give, if it's not perfect, the user has the opportunity to enhance it and kind of get rewarded through the app in that way.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so Joe, walk us through now marketing, right? So you got a product that is user friendly, it's available. So talk us a little bit through how did you market it, and then what are you marketing? Are you marketing a subscription? Are you marketing a one-time buy? All the different variables.
Yeah, so right now, as far as marketing, we're kind of just pushing our Indiegogo and just offering these lifetime subscriptions until we can finish the full app. So the version we have out right now in the App Store, it's on your watch only. Everything is right on your watch. And it's a complete product in itself, but it doesn't have everything that, we would like to develop. And kind of based off of those past errors of like marketing before the product was done, we're just working pretty much fully on development. And once the final version is done, then we're going to switch over and end the Indiegogo and just market the app as its subscription model that we're doing.
Okay, cool. So now, when I look at this, right, this has, to me, a variation of a pretty big market, right? You can go to colleges, high schools, music classes. I mean, you can go on and on and on.
Right.
Are you guys attacking those markets as well? Or are you going to do that after?
Yeah, so we're not actively, pursuing colleges or schools right now, just because we're actually developing an authoring system for educators. And that's kind of like the last piece. It's learn, practice, play is really what encompasses the app. And we've checked off all of the practice tools. And now the last thing that we kind of need before we can go and actually successfully integrate this into a classroom setting is the ability for the teachers to make lessons and the ability for them to track, how often their students are practicing, things like that. And what's really cool about it is it's like a hybrid lesson model where we can take existing videos or new videos of instruction, and basically as the video is playing, we can have it stop at a certain point and then continue the instruction on the wrist. So it creates this kind of hands-on learning effect. So it'd be like, here's how to play the G chord, video pauses, And it's like, all right, now here, actually play the G chord. Here's how it works. And that is really the last thing that, you know, we're finishing before we go. And we're like, all right, hey, you guys kind of need this because it's pretty game changing.
So can you show a little bit right now, like on the actual, on your, can you show how it works? And then maybe you can get Matt to do a duo with you on the guitar.
Yeah, of course. So that's one of the real cool things. Like, so I'll show you right here. So basically the biggest thing that separates this from any existing way to learn guitar through like your iPad, through your laptop or anything else is that you don't have to look back and forth. And I know it's like a small thing, but it's really powerful because I'll show you. It just shows you where to put your fingers and what you can play. And it makes it so that you don't mess up and you don't get discouraged. It's like everything is right on your wrist. So I'll bring you through. This is kind of like how the app works here. So we got the interface. Let's see how we look in.
While you're doing that, am I able to search and download the app?
Yeah. If you have an Apple Watch or an Android watch, we just launched on Android. Then just search Wristruments and you'll be able to download it right there. So so the fretboard, see it just lines up with your actual guitar. So I'm gonna go through. Let's see, it's gonna skip that and bring it right to here. So in this model, we have the songs. This is actually not public yet, but we have chords.
And a new release.
Nobody's gonna know. Don't worry, we won't tell anybody.
No, it's all right. But if they back the Indiegogo, then they get early access to it and they can actually download this one as a beta. So we have different styles. And for this section, this is chords. This is a rhythm mode. It just has different chord progressions. So you can select one and then it shows you literally the chords, how to play them.
This is it, man. This is the part I've been waiting for. Matt, you sure you don't want to jump in here?
I don't know. I'd have to have someone go get me a guitar from me.
One of the 30. So I'm a lefty actually, so I'm gonna have to switch this to lefty mode. And another really cool thing, I don't know if anyone can really hear it, but we were able to utilize like the haptic feedback on the watch to actually create like a vibrating metronome right on your wrist, which has been extremely helpful. So let's see, so I'm gonna toss this guy in lefty mode. I'll give you a little chord demo.
I always wanted to play guitar. Always.
I mean, it's so easy.
It's not too late. It's not
Matt,
too late.
Matt, how many times have you heard that?
I want to be hey, listen, I also want to be a rock star too, right? I want to be a singer. I want to play guitar and I want to be like a Rob Thomas, Matchbox 20. It's not asking for much.
That's not much. It's not much to
my
ask
next
for.
lifetime.
I just want to collect the money.
Now.
So now I just have to get him to come to my wedding instead of actually me being the performer.
That's it. That's it. And then so here. So I'll give you guys another little one. So this feature is kind of a little bit better for me. This is a scales version. And what we did here is we loaded a bunch of backing tracks right into the app. And when you select one, it brings up the actual scale that this track is in the key of. So literally all of these notes right here, you can play in any order and they sound good with the track, which makes it just really just enhances the whole learning experience, because this is something I would never be able to do without this.
So Joe's told me he can play guitar. I've just never seen him or heard him play it. So this is the moment of truth here.
This is a moment of truth. All right, ready? So I'm just
Matt's gonna have to prove his worthiness too.
Matt's gonna sing.
God.
Matt will sing to it.
Perfect.
I have been known to sing backup vocals.
I mean, Matt, you gotta do something. You're wearing a Kiss shirt. You either gotta pull out a Kiss toy or you gotta play guitar.
He might have some guys
I'll
from
show
Kiss
you guys
in the
kind of
office.
a little bit.
He's probably got some Kiss stuff back there. Some of those figurines.
Yeah, a ton of stuff. But back in the day, all my friends' bands became pretty big actually in the 90s.
My buddy used to, he had like a little rock group and they dressed up like Kiss. and
That's
they were really good, and they looked just like them.
That's cool. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, they were.
Hey, Matt, did you guys ever play the Gemini?
the Gemini. No, we've been playing like Trash Bar, Pianos, Orleans Grocery, Bitter End, like all those places in New York City.
I lived right down the road from the Gemini. We used to hang out with Twisted Sister there. All the guys would play there.
Twisted Sister.
Yeah, he's a Long Island guy.
Nice. All right, Joe, let's
Crazy.
go, baby.
You want
Let's
to hear it? All right, let's see what we can do.
I'm just thinking maybe I need to get this app to start playing guitar. It's gotta
Literally,
start-
we've had people that have never played that can actually play something under like 3 minutes.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's just a backing track and it has the scales, you know, so I can kind of just improv.
This is live concert at the UIA.
There you go.
Cooking shows, molding shows. Now we got music shows.
Yeah, I once read that Hendrix had one of these instruments.
So yeah, I mean, like as you can tell, I'm not like the best guitarist, but once I start using it, I'll keep going for an hour, you know, and just keep playing over tracks because it's kind of like I play this note and it sounds good and I'm satisfied.
I saw you showing that to Chris Trapper at the Shark Tank airing.
Yeah.
So he
That was
looked,
really
he looked
cool.
like he was pretty fascinated by it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else like it. You know, it's really the first time that we've been able to create really a basic augmented reality on your smartwatch, and yeah, it's exciting. I'll show you guys the little song thing here. So it's kind of the songs that we were working on. I was telling you about the lyrics.
Wow. It's got a pretty good.
So
Hey, Joe, real quick.
yes, sir.
How was the process of getting the app up onto the services like the Apple services and things like that?
Well, I was even thinking, you know, Carmine, I talked to Joe a little bit about that as well. But how about like even getting it programmed before that? I know you were doing a bunch of outsourcing on that. So talk a little bit about that right into getting the app available. That was pretty
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is like it's not as complex as a lot of people might think. You know, if you have a Mac, you can download the software for free. And there's tutorials, there's example apps that you can pull in. So it's really like, all right, you find a feature that is similar to what you're looking to do. You can open it up and see literally the code of how it works. And then you kind of just modify it. And what we did as soon as we actually started raising money on Kickstarter, we found a guy, Dung, he's a software teacher. He teaches at a college in Vietnam. And he was just amazing to find. We found him on Freelancer and then just started working with him more directly. And it was really good because he could really tie everything together that we were doing. And, you know, we would just go back and forth with him. He would kind of show us, you know, how these things work. So we were really involved in the product. It wasn't like we were like, here, just, you know, make this. We just kind of have him like as a guide to make sure that we don't mess up. And as far as getting it on the actual app store, we were beta testing it for a while before we actually submitted it, like I said, with our Kickstarter supporters. So Apple kind of, you know, they saw that. So the review process wasn't that bad. It took maybe like 2 days after we submitted it for them to accept it.
Wow. So what's your end game here? Where do you end up? Where do you see this going?
So obviously, you know, I'm trying to stay focused on one thing so I don't go all over the place. So right now it's just proving the concept of Wristruments, which I think we're well on our way to doing because we have paying customers. We have people, I think 4,000 users on Apple Watch from all over the world that are actively using this without us really marketing the app itself. So really our end game, once we finish these features for the authoring platform and can really get it into like an educational setting, we plan on taking this technology and hitting as many markets as possible where this type of screen rotation, like in vivo instruction is applicable. And really what we're doing through this is we're anticipating the heads-up augmented reality glasses that are really going to change how everything is. You know, you're not going to have to look at your phone anymore. You're going to be able to have instruction while you're actually doing things. So we're basically creating augmented reality brands on these devices that people already own, so that once that transition does happen, you know, Wristruments will be an augmented reality app, and people are already familiar with the interface, how it works, things like that. So the next ones we're doing are golf, where actually what you'll have, instead of, you know, your watch being like this, you actually have the watch on the outside of your wrist while you're holding your club, so that we can do that same kind of hands-on instruction. So it's like, here's how you should hold your club. Here's how, you know, based on what the weather conditions are or what your, you know, slope might be, here's the best way to do it. And we can actually deliver that information in sync, like with somebody's life, so that they don't have to, you know, continue to stop what they're doing and try to remember the information and then apply it to what they're doing. So we have pretty much anything hands-on we're working on.
So that was pretty cool. So glasses, I'm thinking, remember those Google glasses? Those things even exist anymore? No, my nephew had them. They'd be driving down the road with Google glasses on. That's not probably a good idea, but that would be a pretty cool application for that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you get good at not looking at the chords, but reading them.
Right. So yeah, I mean, Apple, you know, they've been talking about their AR glasses, and it's been something I've been following for a while. I think Google kind of just was a little bit early with the Google Glass. It didn't pick up as much as possible. And really the main like technological factor right now that's holding that back is just the power of these microchips. And there's like this latency, right, where it's not fully immersive yet. And the software is done. They know how to do it. You know, if you connect it to this big computer, then you can get the full effect, but it's just not there on a consumer individual level yet. So as soon as that technology is developed, which, you know, there's a ton of big players working on it, then I think it's going to be really surprising how quickly these kind of take over the market, just like the phones, you know?
Yeah. So I guess my next question would be for you to think about like these big companies, right? Once you get this pretty ironed out, you get some flow, you get some flexibility. Are you going to go to any big companies and pitch it and have them sponsor you?
Yeah. I mean, initially, you know, our whole plan was to integrate all these applications into this one system that uses your data to kind of benefit the user and what your goals are, rather than using your data to sell you things. So we wanted to keep everything in-house, but it's kind of just unrealistic. So our biggest focus is just partnering with other companies and brands that kind of have these same values and these same long-term goal of using technology to empower people rather than control them.
Got it. About angel investors? Any angel investors you considered? Because I think at some point, if you're really going to push this to that high level, you're going to definitely need more capital.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I'd said, you know, I spent about 2 years just with running around basically with my head cut off, looking for angel investors with like my different PDFs and business plans and things. And it was, like I said, too early. I think we're at a point now where we've proven we've actually been able to generate money through a software company in relatively short time since we started development. So yeah, I think we're getting pretty close to the point where, you know, I'm going to switch back from working in the product to working on it and looking for some extra help in that way, because it's like we can only do so much.
Yeah, I would think like with a lot of different marketing, you know, like the sports betting apps, right? They say these people don't make any money. I have some of that stock actually.
Mhm.
but you see the stock grow, right? So like
Right.
but their biggest budget line item is marketing. And they're
Right.
spending hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing with ESPN and NFL. I got to believe somewhere that this has that same type of niche to me.
Absolutely.
It has to have a lot of marketing. How about bands, big bands? You ever think about, trying to get on that chain and have that be a part of an advertisement poll?
Absolutely. We've been talking to a few entertainers over the years and kind of just developing these relationships. A lot of them that Connor brought in from his time working in the entertainment industry. And, really just all comes back to just having the product fully ready so I don't have to explain things to people, and they can just get it and we can move forward. So we have a lot of marketing strategies that we're going to be implementing. But right now it's really just about, getting this thing fully developed to the point where we don't have to leave anything as a mystery.
About social media, what kind of budget are you looking at there? I got to imagine. I mean, TikTok has become. I talk to different people, and it's all relative. They'll be on TikTok, and then they'll have one video, and for some reason, that algorithm just hits it the right way, and it blows up. It becomes viral, and when it does, they just get all kinds of orders from that. Are you doing so? Talk about social media a little bit, because that to me, I would think would be a big play for you, especially on a TikTok platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were running some Facebook ads to the Indiegogo, just paid advertising, targeted advertising, and our return was really good. We were getting like a 3 to 4 times return on every dollar spent going towards the Indiegogo. And we kind of just, our budget tapped out, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
All right, John, I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
Yes, sir.
You got investors watching.
Yeah.
You got 30 seconds to a minute. Give us your hardcore pitch.
All right. Well, so Wristruments, it's the first and only augmented reality smartwatch application that people can actually download and use, and it's changing the way people learn to play guitar and the way people actually play guitar. And what we're doing is we're opening up music for pretty much anybody who thought that they couldn't play or thought that it was too difficult, by just showing them, hit this note while the music is playing. And then they literally feel that they did this, and it unlocks something within them. We've seen this with literally every single new person that we've shown, this boost of confidence. And they're like, hey, I can actually do this. And it's just a magical experience. And, you have to try it or see it to really feel the power of it. And it's available, like I said, on both Apple and Android. So yeah, I would definitely just recommend trying it and seeing it for yourself, because you will be amazed.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool app. So if we go through the whole process, right, where you started, you jumped into this, spend a little bit of time talking about, the pitfalls and your successes, because it's never always success, right? You always hit these roadblocks of what you think is going to happen, doesn't happen. Talk about that a little bit. And then, also talk about your successes. What came out of those pitfalls?
Sure. I mean, the biggest pitfalls, are you really have to give up at like pretty much any chance of a normal life, I guess, like at least in the time that you're starting something like this. If you're somebody in my position who, just left school, is kind of just staying above water, didn't really have any safety net finances. So yeah, I mean, it's a month to month. It's every day is a new challenge. You've had came home to the electricity shut off a few times. Had to me and my ex-girlfriend who were living together for a while, we had to split up just because it was wasn't really fair to her how much time I was putting in this and how obsessed I was. It was you really just got to go all in. And yeah, I mean, we're still in it, we're still in the trenches, and it's every day is just a new issue or a new obstacle to overcome. And I think the amount that you learn through this is really the biggest takeaway, the biggest win is that, you know, I'm developing these skill sets in all different areas, you know, from marketing to IP to team building and even software programming. And it's like, it's kind of nice to step outside of, you know, your own mental bubble for a little bit and realize how far that you came as an individual, to the point where it's like, I have a ton of ideas, you know, I just always want to be creating things and making new things. And the biggest thing right now is just picking one, you know, and just having the discipline to just continue doing it, because a lot of these things that like, you're like, oh, this is such a good idea, like I need to be doing this right now, it takes away from that, you know, from what you should be doing. And yeah, it's just a constant growth process, constant learning process. I feel like, you know, where we're at right now, it is important to like celebrate your small successes, to, you know, keep the momentum going and keep people inspired. But there's just so much work to be done. You know, I think everybody on our team, we're just so motivated where it's like, all right, like we know what this can be. So every time we execute something and put it out, it's almost just like fulfilling that plan. You know, there's really no time to slow down. And I hopefully soon we'll be able to celebrate the real success. But I think right now we're just still in it. We're competing.
Real quick, Joe. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you guys have come pretty far. Just to have that working operational version on the watch is pretty awesome to see. And I might have missed this part, but do you guys put together like an avatar of who your target customer is? Yeah,
that was done really through our actual Kickstarter customers and our Indiegogo customers. You know, we're at about, I think, like 400 plus paying customers, and we've kind of been able to narrow down, like at this point, it's, you know, it's guys, late 20s, early 30s, who are kind of like tech heads and like to play guitar, you know. And then also on the other end of the spectrum is older people who have never seen technology used in this way and kind of just believe in it, and are getting it as gifts or because they want to play themselves. And we've actually had a lot of people who bought smartwatches specifically just for this, which is really cool. Apple might need to give us a commission at some point, but
if you get that, let us know.
I think they're the first big company you should go to.
That's it.
Hey Matt, do you see that? You probably talk to so many people who you hear say, I always wanted to play guitar. Is it younger people, older people?
But you know what, Carmine? It's not even that, Matt. It's like doesn't this have a niche somewhere in the toy industry on these talking dolls and animated features?
We do. There's a lot of voice activated, voice technology toys being developed and coming out. It is a thing. Yeah, I mean, but as far as your question goes, Carmine, yeah, people are always telling me that they want to play guitar, or they'll want me to show them how to play guitar, and then I do, and then they give up because they're just like, I'm not going to get to that levels. They're just at a certain age, I think people just get too intimidated. You know, if it doesn't come naturally. But the crazy thing is, you know, I'll have people who be like, oh, you know, I've always wanted to play guitar, but I can't. But then they're convinced that they can teach themselves Photoshop in a week.
Get a guitar.
Yeah, you're better off with the guitar. Right. Yeah.
And what's good, Matt, is that they'll go buy an expensive guitar, and then they probably bring it to you after a year or so, and they say, Matt, you want this?
I have inherited at least a dozen guitars over the years that have come down. People are like, I bought this, I played it for a week, and then it sat in the corner. You take it. Yeah. Unfortunately, they're never great guitars. They're always like, this will be good for the beach.
That's funny.
I would think this has so many different applications. I mean, I think of the toy industry with all the different things going on.
If I was doing it, I'd make a watch that teaches you how to put your watch on.
There you go.
Sure.
That would be good.
That's it.
Can you say that again slower?
Because it's the simple 600 steps on how to put your watch on. It's very, very.
I'm surprised, as Joe said, I'm surprised Apple hasn't come out with the instructions on how to put your watch on.
I don't wear a watch because I don't need to know what time it is. It's go time, baby.
It's always time.
Go time, always.
Chris
the Apple
doesn't
Watch
sleep.
is pretty brilliant in a lot of respects. You know, a lot of people, like, I was wearing one for a long time, and everyone was like, "Why are you wearing an Apple Watch?" And it had some cool functions like that. But primarily, I used it because my youngest son is a type 1 diabetic, and it would tell me his blood sugar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
pretty cool. It's even,
that's awesome.
well, it's funny you said that because I used to have a Samsung when they first came out, one of the older ones. I still have it. And one of my cars, my SUVs didn't have Bluetooth in it. That's how far back we're going. But I had it on the watch, and I literally would talk to Brandy through the Bluetooth on the watch. It was like an episode from Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, and it was crystal clear. You know, she could hear me, and I didn't have to worry about being caught talking on the phone. I literally had it on my wrist. It was.
I do have a couple of questions, Joe. So, I mean, is there a built-in tuner in there? Is there...
Not yet, but that will come with the iPhone version. And a lot of the audio input and a lot of the, grading, I guess, of your performance is going to use the iPhone speaker just because the data is there. There's just not enough data on the watch yet to.
Yeah, because I figured, if you could, because then you could get it to show the song in real time, right? If you're strumming C, you can tell you to switch to G.
Exactly.
To F. That to me would be very impressive. Yeah.
That's the next step. Yeah, that's really the next step to getting it to full hands-on experience where, you don't have to do anything else. It's kind of just all in one.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe, before we go, I've known you for a long time. I watch you develop. I'm proud of you. This is a really cool product. What do you want to leave everybody with? Maybe one positive note on the journey, because the journey.
You get it, a note. I get it, Chris. I get it.
Like the journey should have stuck with one positive note.
One positive note.
Not a minor. Not a minor.
Was that a speaker note?
It was something major.
C major. That's the note. But no, for real, I think the biggest takeaway I can say over all my years and of trying to bring so many products to market is just make the product. It's like a good analogy. One of my buddies told me, it's like if you're trying to show somebody a video on your phone, but your phone's dead, then you can't show them, and it's like you got to plug your phone in, you have to have that charger, and you have to have something to actually show people, because nobody's going to understand it as well as you do. And, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be something that you put hundreds of thousands of dollars into. It's just be creative and find a way to make it happen. And then everything else really falls into place. And it's a much more fluent process. There's not all of this what word am I looking for? Resistance with the things you're doing, and you'll know when you hit that, because it just feels right, so.
And it's validation, right? It's credibility.
Make something.
I always say things that I talk about, I always have photos. I mean, I know you guys are probably surprised that I have photos.
Right.
I always have photos to validate it. It's credibility. It's one thing to talk about it. I hear a lot of people talking about it and they have nothing to show. It's like, do you really believe that person? Or is it just another wild idea that somebody came up with it? But you got proof of concept or validation. Now it becomes real. So I think that's a good point to stick with. Pretty cool stuff, Joe. I hope this thing blows up.
Thank you.
I'm available anytime you need help, and any type of coaching. I'm happy to walk you through it, because I think and being in the business, nothing is easy, and it doesn't happen on the first try. That's a fact.
Right.
What's weird, Chris, is that almost every guest we've had on, we've pushed them over to Matt.
Yeah, I know.
He's like a jack of all trades.
I did tell you he was the toy god, but I didn't know he was like a Kiss fan and played guitar and played all these great spots in New York. I'm just learning more and more about Matt every time we do one of these.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll get into the awkward stuff. Yeah, but yes, my hemorrhoids are flaring. It's pretty uncomfortable sitting here today in this call.
Hey, Matt, we're lucky that Deb doesn't have a little beep button. Beep, beep.
But don't worry, you'll be getting an email.
We're just kidding, Deb. We love you. All right, cool, man. This was an awesome show. We love hearing about this stuff. I mean, you're actually doing it, Joe, and very impressive.
Thank you,
utilizing technology like that on guitars. Matt, how long guitar's been around? I mean, billions of years, right?
Well, I mean, the guitar as we know, it's like about 150 years, but it's variants of guitar, stringed instruments throughout, millennia.
He has a PhD in history. I don't know if you knew that, Chris.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know that. All right. It was awesome stuff, man. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. UIA TV. If you haven't subscribed yet, please jump on to our UIA TV YouTube channel and subscribe. We're nearing the 1,000 mark there on our UIA subscribers. So we're getting up there close. That will be awesome when we hit that mark. If you can, go on out to UIAUSA.org. If you're not a member of United Inventors Association, please become a member. It's free. And from there, you will be able to find your local clubs, which we ask you to support also. So for myself, Carmen Disco, Christopher Guerrero, Matt Nuccio, and the great Joe Corcoran, we thank you for listening, and we will catch you next